He found a crying alien baby in a trash bag. Then she whispered, "Daddy." HFY Sci-Fi tale. A cry from the ashes. The war had ended. At least that's what they said. But Max Thornton knew better. Wars don't end, they just hide. And sometimes they leave behind things no one wants to see. He walked through the edge of the Valkyrie wastelands, boots crunching on black sand, with nothing but wind and memory at his back. His coat, patched and burned, flapped in the toxic breeze. A faint red light blinked on his chest, a translator chip. Broken again. Figures. Everything broke in this place. He didn't come here to save anyone, just to pick up a package. Trade smuggled meds for fuel. Keep flying. Stay out of trouble, and then it happened. A whisper. Not from a radio, not from a comm. From the translator chip on his chest. A glitch? A joke? No, the voice was too soft. Too real. Too close. "Daddy, help me." Max stopped cold. "What?" He looked around. Nothing but broken machines, shattered towers, and dust storms. No signals. No people. Then the voice came again, clearer this time, through the chip. Near the trash. By the gate, Max's heartbeat slowed. Or maybe it sped up. He couldn't tell. Maybe he should ignore it. Maybe he should walk away. But the kind of man who walks away from a cry like that? He used to be that man. He didn't want to be anymore. Main story begins. He reached the towering stone gates of the Valkyrie citadel. Giant, cold, and lifeless. At the base, a heap of garbage. Burnt crates. Broken drones. Medical waste. Max pushed aside a metal plate, then froze. A burlap sack. Moved. Slowly, carefully, he untied the top. Inside was a baby. Not human. Small. Blue skin. Large, glowing eyes. She looked up at him like she had been waiting. Strips of glowing circuitry ran along her collarbone. And hanging from her chest, tied to a silver cord, was a glowing tag that simply read, "Daddy." Max blinked. Once. Twice. "I'm not—" "What the hell?" The baby made a soft sound. The translator chip lit again. "Found me. Daddy." He couldn't breathe. He couldn't think. He'd faced pirates, warlords, bounty hunters. But this small, fragile alien child, calling him something he never dared to be, shook him. She reached for him, tiny fingers, shaking. She wasn't crying. That made it worse. She'd been here so long. She didn't even cry anymore. Max scooped her into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. He looked around, just to be sure. No one was coming for her. No one cared, except him. The arrival of TK Voss. As Max turned to leave, a shadow appeared near the old metal wall. TK Voss, four-armed, Centurion trader. Max's contact TK saw the sack in Max's arms and stopped. "What is that?" TK asked, eyes narrowing. Max pulled back the cloth just enough to show the baby's glowing eyes. "She was left here. I found her." TK's face turned pale. Well, as pale as Centurion skin could get. "That's not just any child," he whispered. "That's a Lumidian. A telepath. So?" "So?" TK stepped back. "The Empire hunts them, especially the young ones. You're holding a target." "She called me Daddy," Max said, his voice low. "That's not a compliment. That's a bond. You're inside her mind now. If you leave her, she'll die. The deal is made." Teague hesitated, then said quietly, "I can help you disappear. New ID, new ship codes. Somewhere the Empire can't find you. What's the catch?" Max asked. "There's a data crystal inside the Citadel. I need it. Get it for me, and I'll get you both out of here." Max looked down at the baby. She stared back, those glowing eyes deep like oceans. He didn't feel like a smuggler anymore. He felt like something else. Maybe that's what scared him most. "I'll do it," he said. TK handed him a chip. "Guard shifts rotate every 12 minutes. Use the waste tunnels." And Max, what? Don't fall in love with that kid. Too late, Max thought. Too late. The deal for disappearance. The inside of his coat was warm. The baby blue-skinned, quiet, glowing, curled against his chest like she belonged there, like she had always belonged there. Max walked across the wasteland slowly, carefully, every sound louder than it should be. Not because he was afraid for himself, but because she had stopped shaking. She was finally asleep, and if anyone tried to wake her the wrong way, they'd never wake up again. The wind howled past the abandoned junk towers, the ruins of forgotten tech, shredded armor, half-buried drones. Just another battlefield the Valkyrie Empire didn't care about anymore. Max walked to the meeting point, an old shuttle shell half sunken in the dust. His contact was already there, TK Voss, 4 arms, greedy eyes, alien tech merchant and part-time scumbag. Max had worked with him before, never trusted him, but he was fast and useful. TK was pacing. He turned. "You're late." Max didn't respond, just stood still. The baby shifted slightly under his jacket. A soft mental nudge brushed his thoughts. Danger. He didn't need the translator to tell him. The confrontation. TK took a step forward and stopped. His 4 eyes narrowed. "There's something alive under your coat." Max didn't move. "I found her near the Citadel gates," he said quietly. "Someone threw her away." TK's skin went pale gray. His upper left hand trembled. "You found a Lumidian. I found a baby." "That's not just a baby." TK's voice shook. "It's a Nexus telepath. They only bond if they choose you. And once they do, they never let go." The baby stirred again. Max felt her mind reach toward TK, like a flashlight scanning a dark room. Key flinched. "She's reading me," he muttered. Max placed one hand over the child protectively. "She's scared. Don't give her a reason." The deal. TK stepped back, cleared his throat. "Look, I don't care what you do with her, but the Valkyrie will. If they find out she's alive and bonded to a human." Max's jaw clenched. "Then help us disappear." TK hesitated, then nodded slowly. "There's a way. But I need a favor first." Max sighed. "Of course you do. I need a data crystal from inside the Citadel, storage archives. Level 3, it has shipping manifests and internal codes. My buyers will pay more than you've ever seen." Max raised an eyebrow. "You want me to sneak into a Valkyrie fortress while carrying a baby?" "She's small." Max scowled. "You get me that crystal," TK continued, "and I'll erase your ID, clear your ship's transponder, and give you passage to the outer colonies, places the Empire doesn't touch." Max looked down at the baby. Her eyes were open now, watching him. Through the translator, a soft pulse blinked. "I trust you." The mission begins. Later that night, Max studied the map TK had uploaded to his wrist device. Underground waste tunnels, guard rotation cycles, old access codes. Just like old times, he muttered to himself. He looked over at the sleeping baby, wrapped in a soft thermal blanket inside the ship's medbay. Her tiny hand gripped the collar of his jacket like it was the only safe thing in the universe. Maybe it was. He felt her emotions in his mind again, faint, like warm echoes. Fear, loneliness, hope. Into the Citadel, the entrance to the waste tunnels smelled like acid and rust. Max pulled his scarf tight and kept his head low. The baby was strapped securely to his chest inside a makeshift sling. She didn't make a sound, not when the metal doors hissed shut behind them, not when the lights flickered red, not even when the echo of Valkyrie boots stomped above them. They moved like ghosts. Max's footsteps were silent. The baby's presence was a quiet heartbeat in his mind. Ahead was a maintenance access panel. He entered the code. The wall slid open. Inside, rows and rows of glowing crystals, cold, blue, floating. Max stepped inside and whispered, "Now let's find the one worth risking our lives for." The baby moved gently. Max felt her guide him, not with words but with instinct. Left, then right. He stopped at a crystal that shimmered faintly gold. "This one?" he asked. She blinked once. Max reached out. Alarm, screaming sirens, red lights, doors slamming shut. The secret inside the crystal. The baby didn't cry. She showed him memories. And in those memories was hell. The stolen crystal was warm in Max's palm. Not hot, not dangerous, but warm, like it was alive, like it wanted to be seen. He stood in the shadow of an old fuel station, deep inside the tunnels beneath the Valkyrie citadel. The red lights from the alarms had faded, but the fear in his chest hadn't. Across from him, the alien woman watched silently, green-scaled, amber eyes. A Valkyrie, yet somehow not the enemy. She had told him her name was Naria, and that she was the one who left the baby in the trash. Now she stood still, waiting. Max didn't trust easily. Especially not aliens, especially not ones with blasters and secrets. But then, he looked down at the baby again, wrapped in a sling against his chest, glowing slightly in the dark, blue-skinned, calm. Her eyes were open, watching, trusting. She blinked once, slowly. Then something strange happened. Max felt it. A whisper inside his mind. Not a voice. A memory. First telepathic connection, Astra's perspective. He wasn't standing in the tunnel anymore. He was somewhere else. Cold, bright, a lab. He couldn't move, but he could see. Feel, smell, metal tables, rows of glass tanks, crying children, blue, like her. Needles in their arms, wires in their heads. One of them screamed silently as a machine hummed nearby. Max tried to turn away, but the memory held him. He realized this was not his memory, it was hers, the baby, the one who called him Daddy. She wasn't just showing him something, she was sharing pain. Max gasped and stumbled back into the tunnel. The vision faded. His heart raced. He looked down at the child, stunned. She showed me. He couldn't even finish the sentence. Naria nodded slowly. She's a Nexus Limidian, she said quietly. The Empire calls her a failed experiment. I call her a miracle. Unlocking the crystal, Max pulled the crystal from his pouch and inserted it into his wrist device. A projection bloomed into the air. Blue light flickering between them. Text, images, video logs, genetic scans, training programs, test results. One title blinked on the screen. Project Starseed, internal files. Classified, eyes only. Max scrolled through the horror. Infants caged and tagged emotion suppression drugs. Neural. Implants designed to weaponize empathy. Valkyrie doctors testing how long a telepathic baby could survive without affection. His stomach turned. They tried to make her a weapon, Max said bitterly. Naria's jaw tightened. She failed their tests. She bonded too deeply. She refused to hurt people. And so they threw her out like garbage. Yes. Silence. Then Max spoke again. Why me? Why leave her where a human would find her? Naria stepped closer, her voice softer now. Because the Valkyrie don't believe humans are capable of deep bonds. They think your species is too selfish. Too broken, are we? She looked down at the child. No, she said. Not all of you. The connection deepens. The baby stirred gently. Her hand touched Max's chest, and the warmth in his mind grew brighter. She was linking them, not just Max. Naria, too. For a second, Max felt her emotions, too. Naria's, doubt, loneliness, guilt, but also admiration and something else blooming underneath. Attraction. Max quickly looked away. Is this normal? He asked. Naria smiled faintly. No, but Nexus Lumidians don't bond with just anyone. They bond with those who are compatible. You mean, yes, with those she sees as family. Alarms return. Danger approaches. Suddenly, a distant sound echoed through the tunnels. Boots, metal, weapons humming. Max's instincts screamed. Empire troops. They found us, Naria said, pulling her weapon. And if they see her, they'll kill us all. Max looked down at the baby. Her eyes were calm. But her mind whispered one word, hide. Cliffhanger set up for part 4. Max turned to Naria. You said you had a way out. She nodded. My transport. 2 kilometers east, hidden beneath a mining outpost. Small bond of 3 minds. The first sign was too quiet for the ear, but the baby heard it. A single flicker in the back of Max's mind. Danger. He paused mid-step. Wind brushed the sand. His boots stopped. The sling around his chest shifted. The baby, silent, pressed her head closer to him. Max slowly turned. His eyes toward the ship waiting in the clearing. Something was off. Too still. Too perfect. A shadow moved behind the cargo. Ramp, then another, and then he saw it. T.K. Voss. The 4-armed alien was standing beside a tall figure in black armor, grinning like a traitor who had already been paid. Commander Drex, the blood-red scaled Valkyrie officer, ruthless, feared, and now, staring directly at Max from across the dunes, the trap springs. Trap! Max hissed, grabbing Naria's arm and pulling her behind a rusted metal husk. Naria's eyes widened. That bastard sold us out. Soldiers appeared from every side, emerging from shadows, behind wrecks, even under cloaked drones. Sleek Valkyrie armor glinted in the sun. Max ducked low, heart pounding. The baby squirmed but didn't cry. Instead, she pressed a new thought into his mind. Not fear, not confusion, a direction. Max blinked. She's showing me a way out. Naria closed her eyes for a moment, focusing on the link between them. Then she opened them again. I can see it too. The mental link awakens. In that moment, under pressure, under fire, under fear. The baby's mind linked them both fully. Max felt Naria's thoughts, her pulse, her regrets, her fire, her guilt for working under the Empire, her secret admiration for him, and a quiet, buried desire she hadn't spoken aloud. And she felt his survival instincts, his confusion, his unexpected, overwhelming need to protect the baby, and now, her. The link burned between them like a quiet storm. Fast, intimate, alive. 3 minds. One bond, and it was Astra, the baby, who had created it. Escape begins. 2 kilometers east, Naria whispered. My personal ship, hidden under rocks. It can outrun anything short of a military dreadnought. Max nodded. But we have to move. Now. They crawled through the wreckage. Astra projected warnings, heat signatures, drone patterns, blind spots. She couldn't speak, but her mind painted maps like pictures. She was protecting them, and every time Max looked at her tiny blue face, he felt it again. Love, real, deep, dangerous. TK's final betrayal, from behind. Drex's voice thundered, "Bring me the child! No mercy if she escapes!" TK's voice followed, smug and fake sad. I warned him. But humans never listen. Max clenched his teeth. If we make it out of this alive, he muttered, I'm going to rip off all 4 of that bastard's arms. Naria almost smiled. Start with the loudest one. Cliffhanger, the last 500 meters. They reached the final ridge. Beyond it, Naria's hidden ship. But so did a Valkyrie drone, which spun and launched a red flare into the air. Drex had their location. Soldiers turned. Blasters lit. Max picked up speed. Naria fired back. Astra, sensing panic, screamed mentally, blasting out a pulse of raw emotion that disoriented the soldiers for 3 seconds. Just enough. Max kicked open the hatch. They threw themselves inside. Doors sealed. Engines roared. Moment before liftoff. Max sat back in the pilot seat, breath shaking. Baby pressed against him. Naria at his side. The 3 of them. Alive. Barely. She saved us, Max whispered, stroking the baby's head. Naria nodded, her voice full of wonder. She's not just telepathic. She's something more, a bridge, a bond maker, Max looked at her. She linked us, didn't she? Yes. They stared at each other for 1 long second, until the cockpit shuddered. Alarms again. Drex is sending gunships. Naria shouted. Max gripped the controls. Then hang on. Because this baby is about to make me a damn legend. The broadcast that could break an empire. The room was dark, old metal walls. Broken lights, dusty screens, but in the center a hologram hovered in silence, casting cold blue light over Max, Naria, and the tiny baby girl sleeping between them. The data crystal, the one they had risked their lives for, was unlocked now. Project Starseed, fully revealed, what they saw, was worse than anything Max expected, and he'd seen a lot. Inside the files were videos, real ones. No edits, no lies. Valkyrie scientists testing on infants. Blue-skinned babies like Astra, hooked to machines, screaming silently in tanks. Electrodes in their heads. Drugs in their blood. Failure, one file said, bonded emotionally. Useless for combat. Another showed a child being tossed aside, unconscious, discarded. Insufficient aggression response. Max stared at the footage. His fists clenched. The baby stirred in her sling but didn't cry. She knew what they were watching, because it was her past. Naria whispered, This is enough to tear the Empire apart." Max didn't answer. He was already planning how. The plan to expose them. "Where's the nearest relay station?" Max asked. Naria pulled up the map of Helios Outpost, where they had landed an hour ago. Mid-level command center. "Communications hub. Can we broadcast to all channels?" "Yes, but..." She hesitated. "There's one problem." "What?" "Drex," Max looked up. "He's already here?" "He's docking as we speak." Max's jaw tightened. "Then we better move fast." The family moment. Before they left the hidden room, Max turned to Naria. Astra lay between them on a blanket of old coats and emergency foam, sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. "She doesn't deserve any of this," he said. "No," Naria whispered. "She deserves a world that doesn't hurt children for being born different." Max brushed a finger along the baby's cheek. She smiled in her sleep. For a moment, the anger in his chest turned into warmth. "I'm not her real father," he said quietly. Naria looked at him. "She thinks you are." Breaking into the control center, they moved fast, through service tunnels, maintenance lifts, back doors. Helios Outpost was neutral territory, but Drex's arrival had already triggered a security lockdown. No ships were leaving, but that didn't matter. They weren't trying to leave. They were trying to break the Empire's spine, inside the command room. The door to the comms center hissed open. Old consoles. Dusty servers. Red emergency lights blinking. Max slammed the data crystal into the port. Screens came to life. "Begin global upload," Naria said, typing fast. "All channels?" "All of them. Military, civilian, commercial, pirate networks. Even the Trade Commission." She looked at Max. "Once this goes out, there's no going back." Max nodded. "Do it." Drex's final move. Before the upload completed, a blaster shot rang out. The screen sparked. Drex. He had found them, flanked by 2 soldiers. Blaster drawn, his voice full of venom. "You shouldn't have come here. Human." Max stood between Drex and the child. Blaster shaking in his hand. "I didn't come here for war." "Then why did you steal one of our weapons?" Drex growled, pointing at Astra. Max looked down at her. She was awake now, eyes glowing. Calm, watching. "She's not a weapon," Max said. "She's a child, and that's why you'll lose," Drex said, raising his blaster. Astra's power unleashed. And then, everything stopped. Drex froze mid-step. His guards collapsed. Max blinked. "What just happened?" Naria gasped. She linked their minds. "Shut them down." Astra's eyes glowed softly. Her thoughts pressed into Max's chest like a heartbeat. "They can't hurt us anymore." Max felt something break inside him, and something bigger form. He wasn't just running anymore. He was fighting back. Broadcast goes live. The screens flickered back. All across the galaxy, images appeared. Babies in tubes, experiment logs, genetic torture files, Astra's face. Smiling through the pain, Max whispered, "Let them see." The first response from a diplomatic ship in orbit. A human ambassador stood. From a neutral alien planet, a news anchor gasped. From inside an underground resistance. The bond that changed everything. The ship hummed as it sailed through the stars, cutting through the black like a blade wrapped in silence. Inside the cockpit, Max sat in the pilot's chair, one hand on the controls, the other gently holding the tiny fingers of the blue-skinned child asleep against his chest. Astra. She still didn't have a real name. But she didn't need one to be real, not anymore. Her breath was soft, her glow steady, and the strange warmth in Max's chest, something that had grown every hour since he found her, was now undeniable. Safe for now, or so they think, beside him. Narya was slumped against the wall, her green armor dusty, her face lit by the glow of the star map. She wasn't asleep, but she wasn't speaking either. For a long time, there was only silence. Then Max said quietly, "She stopped crying." "After we left the station," Narya nodded. "She's never felt this safe. That's what her mind is projecting." Max looked down at the child again. "Safe with a smuggler and a runaway soldier," he said. Half smiling, Narya turned to him, her voice soft. "Not just that anymore." Astra's first wordless message. Astra stirred, not awake. Not afraid, just aware. Her eyes stayed closed, but both Max and Narya felt it. A memory, shared through their minds. A planet. A calm ocean. Twin moons hanging above the water. A small house. A porch, laughter, 3 people, Max, Narya, and Astra, watching the stars. Then the image faded. A warm feeling lingered in Max's chest. "She's showing us a dream," Narya whispered. "No," Max said, swallowing hard. "She's showing us a future." The family feeling, romantic tension builds. Narya stood up and crossed the small cockpit. She gently ran her fingers along Astra's glowing cheek. "She's growing faster than any telepath I've seen," she said. "Not just mentally, emotionally, spiritually." "She chose us," Max said quietly. Narya looked at him, and suddenly the space between them felt heavy. They were linked. Their minds, their hearts, Astra had created it. But what it had become was something more. "I meant what I said before," Narya whispered. "Not all Valkyrie are cruel. We used to be explorers, scholars, builders, and then the Empire took over." Max studied her face. The tiredness, the fire, the regret, and something else, longing for peace, for family, for him. "You left them behind for her," he said. Narya smiled faintly. "I left them behind for something better. The moment she's named." Suddenly Astra opened her eyes. She looked up at them both, and in their minds, a single word appeared. "Name?" Max and Narya glanced at each other. Then Max said, "Astra." Narya's eyes lit up. "Starborn. It fits her," Max added. "She was found in darkness." "But she still glows," Astra cooed softly. And the mental connection between the 3 pulsed like a heartbeat, stronger than before, unbreakable. Danger returns. The moment of peace shattered with a beep from the console. Max leaned forward. Valkyrie cruiser, 40,000 kilometers behind. "Tracking us," Narya cursed under her breath. "Drex." "Of course." Astra looked up, her glowing eyes now steady and sharp. No fear, only warning. "She says there's a nebula nearby," Max said, surprised. Narya blinked. "She's accessing galactic maps?" "She's giving me coordinates." Max adjusted the ship's heading. "Ribbon Nebula. Clouded, dense. Perfect to hide, but dangerous," Narya warned. Max smiled. "So are we." Heading into the nebula. As the stars turned gold and violet outside the viewport, the ship entered the swirling chaos of the Ribbon Nebula. The engines shook, the walls groaned. But inside the cockpit, Max held Astra close. Narya gripped his shoulder, and their minds moved together. 3 lives, 1 future, bound by something stronger than species, stronger than fear, love. Closing emotional scene, ending part 6. Max looked at Narya. "You know we'll never have peace again, right?" She smiled softly, leaning in closer. "Not until we make it ourselves." Astra's thoughts brushed both of theirs one last time before sleep. Family. Safe love. Not just a smuggler anymore. The ocean didn't care who you were. Not smuggler, not soldier. Not hunted, not holy. It just existed. Calm, endless, peaceful. Max stood at the edge of the porch. A soft sea breeze brushing past his face, carrying the scent of salt and something sweet. Freedom. Behind him, Astra slept in her crib. Inside, Narya was humming softly in a language he didn't know, but had come to love. The war was far behind them now, and yet it never really left. Life on Novata, 6 months later. Their new home wasn't big, just a small house on the Novata colony, a world with no military, no empire, and no lies. But to Max, it was the universe. He had smuggled fuel through supernovas, escaped pirate prisons, sold weapons to warlords, but nothing had ever felt as dangerous, or as right, as falling in love with an alien warrior and raising a telepathic baby who used to call him stranger, but now called him Daddy. Astra's power grows. She was growing fast, faster than human or Valkyrie children ever did. Some days, she spoke in 3 languages at once. Other days, she said nothing at all, but her thoughts would echo gently in their minds like a soft touch. She didn't cry much anymore, but when she laughed, it shook the air around them like a spark of energy. She could already lift pebbles with her mind, and when she was scared, she could send a psychic wave that blanked out every signal in a 50-meter radius. Narya called her the child who feels the world. The galaxy responds. After their broadcast from Helios, the galaxy had exploded. Sanctions, trials, protests on 10 planets. The Valkyrie Empire had been forced to shut down Project Starseed, and was now fractured, with half of its own people questioning everything. Some called Max a terrorist, others called him the smuggler, who brought the truth. But he didn't care. He hadn't done it for politics, he had done it for her. Flashback to his promise, he remembered that first day, when he'd pulled her out of the trash heap and whispered, "I'm not your daddy." He smiled now. That was the last lie he ever told her. The final bond, Narya and Max. Narya stepped out onto the porch, her long coat swaying in the breeze. She wrapped her arms around Max from behind. "Still watching the waves?" she asked. "Just making sure they don't rise up and kill us?" She smiled. Old habits. He turned to face her. Her scales were glowing a little brighter tonight. Something he'd learned happened when she felt calm, safe, loved. "You're thinking too loud," she said, touching his forehead. "I do that," Max replied. She leaned in, forehead resting against his. "You don't have to anymore." Astra's first spoken words. From inside the house came a small sound, tiny footsteps. Max and Narya turned as Astra waddled to the doorway, eyes glowing, holding a toy wrench in one hand and a seashell in the other. Her voice was soft. "Clear and real. Mommy, Daddy, look, star." She pointed to the sky. Above them, a bright streak of light crossed the sky, a meteor, burning bright. But Max and Narya didn't look up. They looked at her, their little star, shining brighter than anything above. Final tension, a message from the stars. The peace was broken by a soft chime from the comms panel inside. Max walked in, tapped it open. It was a message, encrypted, old code. Resistance level. From Krell, Narya's brother. Subject: "They're coming." Max read the last line out loud. A group of Valkyrie generals refused surrender. "They've taken control of a rogue fleet, and they're looking for Astra." Narya walked in behind him. She read the message. If you enjoyed this video, like this video, subscribing, and clicking the bell icon to stay updated with fresh content every day.